Hello, today we're going to talk about Ultima VII. This vlog is going to cover the history of the Ultima games, specifically Ultima VII, also called Ultima VII and U7 Online, where to get the game, some basic gameplay, the designer of the game, which is Richard Garriott, who originally owned Origin Systems, and how it started my fangirl obsession with Richard Garriott. Richard Garriott was the original game designer of the Ultima series. He first designed Akalabeth in 1979. He was still in high school, I think, and he said that he ended up earning over $100,000 with that game, and his parents thought maybe he had a career in game design at that point. In 1981, he did Ultima 1, 1982, Ultima 2, 1983, Ultima 3, and they were some pretty basic games. I've seen the gameplay on them, but they were some graphical games that you can still play today if you're interested. 1985 got a little more deeper, more budget with Ultima 4. 1988, Ultima 5 came out. 1990, Ultima 6 came out. By this point, the graphics were starting to be a little bit more advanced, as was the story detail. In 1992, he launched Ultima 7. Ultima 7 was the first one that I had ever played, and it really got me into the series at that point for a lot of reasons that I'll cover here in just a minute. Ultima 7 Part 2 came out in 1993, and he says in many interviews that he didn't want to give Ultima 7 Part 2 its own name because it wasn't much of a game. It was more of an add-on to Ultima 7, and I, honest to goodness, don't think I've ever played it. I'm not sure. I don't remember. 1994 came out Ultima 8, and 1999 was the last game in the series with Ultima 9. And I've played mostly... I looked at the other games just to get a feel for them. I couldn't get into them graphically. Ultima 7 is one of my all-time favorite games. Ultima 8, I didn't like it at all and hardly played it. Maybe I'll talk about that at a later time. And Ultima 9 was a beautiful graphic-looking game, but it did have a lot of problems. And at that point, they ended the series. You can get Ultima 7 on the GOG website. I've talked about GOG before. It's GOG.com. If you search for the game, you'll find it, and it's $1.49 right now on sale at the time of this blog. And if you don't catch it on sale, it's only $5.99. And it includes both Ultima 7 and Ultima 7 Part 2. Some of these older games don't play very well on new computers, and for a long time you couldn't play Ultima 7. And then fans of the game were able to find different ways of being able to play it. When I decided to play Ultima 7 again, I found this program called Exalt, E-X-U-L-T, and it was a software designed by fans of the game who wanted to be able to play it on modern computers. So that's why you're seeing that on the screen. I believe if you download it through GOG, which I showed you earlier, they use something called DOSBox, which I have used in the past as well. So it may look a little bit different, but it's going to play basically the same. For the purpose of this vlog, I have turned the music off for the game. It's wonderful, and I hope that you get to enjoy it at some point, but I didn't want to try to overtalk the music. I wanted to be able to show you some of the beginning here of what it looks like without being able to talk over the music. Again, this is a splash screen that they have. There's music behind, a music bed behind this, and it's really beautiful to listen to. But I just wanted to give you an idea of what it looks like, and then we're going to get into creating your character and a little bit of the gameplay. After the opening sequence, you come to a screen where you're going to be able to start a new game. And I've mentioned before that there's very basic things that you can do here. You can give your character a name. You can change it from male to female, which is what I did. And I wanted to talk about that for just a minute. This is the first game I was able to play a female character. And it really helped me with immersion because I am a female. And previous to this, I had only played one other game and then played a male character, which was fine. It was a story, a beautiful story game, Quest for Glory. But when I played this game, this changed everything for me and actually made me a gamer because I was able to play a female character. So after you get your character set up and you've got the name like you want it, you want to I can use my tab key so that journey onward is highlighted. And that's going to take us to the opening sequence of the game. Here in the beginning, what you'll see is a couple of characters. They're talking about some murders that happened. And you will see this often in the game where the characters are having conversations with one another. So it's interesting sometimes to stop and see what they're saying. So they're having a conversation about this murder that happened and they don't know what happened or, what is going to be, how do they find out who it was? And suddenly a red portal pops up and out comes the avatar. The avatar is you. Richard Garriott was the first game developer to use the word avatar to describe your character in the game. It's a representation of yourself. Games have expanded from there and you can represent yourself in all kinds of ways. You can be a giant lizard, you can be a thief, you can be whatever you want. But this is the first time that the word avatar was used, or Richard was the first time to use the word avatar to describe yourself in the game. And that's basically what you do, is you're playing yourself. You would play the way you would play the game. So in this opening sequence, you can't really do much but just read through the text here. They talk about how that this is Trensic that you're currently in, and they're welcoming you and they're having a conversation about this terrible murder that happened in the stables. Now, this is an open-ended game, and you can do pretty much anything in any order that you want. So if something interests you, a place interests you, you can stop and check that place out. It will give you some limited direction, though. So in this case, you've arrived, you seem to know this person named Iolo, and so Iolo says, oh, it's the avatar, and they kind of give you where do you start. Say, hey, there's been a murder in the stables here, and so can you help us out? Occasionally, that's how the quests that you start with begin. In this case, they asked, will you help us with this? Well, yes, I'm the avatar. I'm the one that's going to save the world. So that's how the text and the conversations work with the characters and the NPCs or the non-player characters, is that you answer questions. So that's kind of how it all begins. And so that is how the game starts. As you progress through the game, you will come across all kinds of characters who offer to join your party. And you can choose to have them join or not join. You will come across a lot more non-player characters to join your party than you have room for. You will eventually end up with a total of 8 characters to join you on this quest. And I went through reading about them to select the 8 characters that I wanted to have the most optimal best party, in my opinion. But you can do it any way you want. You can pick them up, add them, subtract them, get rid of them. You can tell them to leave your party. Just keep in mind that if you have them leave the party, you're going to lose all the stuff that you have put in their backpacks. And this is the next part that I want to talk about. So each character has a backpack. Both you, this is my character, as well as the 8 other characters in the party. Your backpacks get full. So part of the game, or a large part of the game, is to organize your characters and the backpacks. So I'm kind of giving you an overview here of all my characters as we go along and we journey and see who everyone is and where things are and kill things and quests. We end up collecting armor and weapons and things like that. And it's important that you keep really good track of all your stuff. What I do is I say, okay, I've got this guy here. I believe his name is Spark. I want Spark to carry our food. So Spark got a bag, and I put our food in the bag. Notice here that this piece of food won't fit in the bag. So you have a limited amount of space, and it's important to keep it all organized so you know where everything is. And I want to make a side note here that you do need to feed your characters in this game. If you don't feed your characters, they can get sick and die. So it's kind of important to kind of get them a lot of rest and to make sure that they have food. And I wanted to make an interesting side note here about this little disc. What this is actually to save your game. And when this game came out, it was on floppy disk, I believe. So it looks like one of those old 5.5-inch floppy disks, for those of you who know who that is, what those are. I wanted to mention here about how to move in the game. You just hold down your right mouse button and you point in the direction you want to go. If you move your mouse farther out, they move faster. They kind of run. So I kind of want to show you how the movement is. That's basically the explanation of the open world and how you go about starting to play this amazing adventure. There's a lot more to the game that I could share with you, but I think that's enough to give you an idea of what it looked like. There's a lot of things that play into it, such as a virtue system. If you decide to go around killing other nice people in the game, eventually some of your party's going to leave you. So if you decide to enjoy the game, just let me know. I'd be happy to help you in any way I can. A few general tips for you. You should get a notebook or something to keep track of all the things that you are supposed to be doing. When I originally played this game, I used a literal physical notebook, and I still have it. And I kept track of places I was supposed to go, people I was supposed to talk to, tasks I was supposed to complete, because Richard didn't believe and still doesn't believe that you should have that in the game. It should be something that you should keep track of and explore on your own. So for me, especially if I gotten older, I don't remember all those things that I'm supposed to be doing. So for me, I use Microsoft OneNote, and I do have a blog post about Microsoft OneNote. I use it in my personal life as well as my gaming life. In my gaming life, any games that needed to have notes or something I need to keep track of, then I created a new section, and this is my Ultima VII section. And so, for instance, when I was told to go to Trinsic and talk to Spark, who was at the northwest part of Trinsic. And once I had done that, I typed out completed. That way I know I've already done that. So other things are just general notes that I want to keep track of, because the story is so huge and broad, I would get lost in what I was trying to do. Someone gave me a password to get out of the town. I made a note of the password so that I didn't have to try to remember it when I was ready to leave the town. So for me, how I organized this, when I had a town that I was going to have to go to, I would put a new page section and I would call it, here's Britain's page. These are the things I've done or need to do, or just notes that I've had, and then just each town that I needed to go to, and I was chasing down the main quest line. Keep in mind that there is a main quest line, but there are many subquests as you go along. So that's how I keep track. I don't know how other people do it, but that's how I've done it, to kind of to explore the game as much as possible and not forget from time to time, because I do take breaks from games and play other games. So this is how I keep track of where I was. And so that's my way. It may work for you, it may not. One thing that I wanted to mention is that this game could take thousands of hours of playing if you choose to do it all on your own without any help. And there is so much there that you can miss. Of course, some people like that. They want to explore it all on their own and figure it out on their own. There's a lot of puzzles. There's a lot of things that you do that could end up getting you killed. And I don't like that so much when I play. So I use a couple of walkthroughs to help me. I want to enjoy the game, but I'm not very good with puzzles and figuring things out. So I've got a couple that I have here, and I'm happy to share them with you if you are interested. This one's called bootstrike.com/Ultima7BG/online/u7walk3.php. And if you're interested in that, again, I'd be happy to send that to you. It's Dan Simpson's Ultima 7 walkthrough. That's probably one of the best that I have found. And one of the other ones I use is the wiki, wiki.ultimacodex.com. And this has a fantastic walkthrough. It includes a lot of the subquests, the side quests in the various towns, so that you don't miss those, because that's a huge part of it. The Forge of Virtue was an add-on that was basically added after the game was released. And the purpose of that was to get your character completely maxed out with a special weapon. And I won't mention what that is in case you want to explore that yourself. But it was added later, and it is suggested that if you are going to play this game from the beginning, do the Forge of Virtue first, because it maxes out your character and it makes it a lot easier to get through parts of the game that otherwise you would just keep dying over and over again. Which brings me to another point. You need to save your game often. I would always save my game at the beginning of what I thought was going to be a big fight, at the end of a big fight when I've been successful and everybody's still alive. So save, 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 save. The game had copyright protection originally, and to answer the copyright protection questions, for instance, these are questions from a character named Finnegan, the only way to answer those questions was to use the manuals that came with the game, or there was a map that came with the game, and it had longitude and latitude markings. And Finnegan would ask a question: what is the latitude of the northernmost part of the island Spectrum? And the answer was 120. And the only way to know that at that time was to have that map and find out what that latitude was. And you can probably find and download copies of the map now. I originally had the cloth map that I can't find anymore. But in this case, if you need those passwords for the copyright protection, you can find them many places online. I just happen to pick this one that I use when I come across those questions so that I can easily answer them. Something that you will come across often is the Druidic runes that are found on buildings, gravestones, and road signs all throughout the game. And in some cases, they're very important. So you come across a building and it's got this sign in runes and you can't read it. So what I do is take a piece of paper and I write down I look at what the rune is. So if I have one that has this character, I know that's an A, and I would write out whatever it said. Sometimes there was really important clues that you would want to have. So I would definitely encourage you to find one of these little alphabets that can help you find out what those words are on those signs and buildings and things. The original game came with a cloth map, and you also have an in-game map. And between the two of those, you could pretty much figure out where you were needed to go. When you pull the game up, when you get to a certain point and you've collected a certain items that you need, then when you pull the in-game map up, it'll tell you where you are. But it doesn't tell you where you need to go necessarily. So I found this wonderful map, and the URL is kxmode.com/u7 /3/-57.18 /-45.97. And I'm happy to send this to anyone who is interested in it. How this helps me, let's say I pull the in-game map up and it tells me I'm in Trinsic. So I'm down here. It's like, okay, that's all well and good, but I want to go see Lord British because they mentioned he might know why the ground is rumbling. You remember you saw the ground rumbling and looked like a earthquake of some kind? So I want to go find out where Lord British is. Well, I happen to know he's up here in his castle. So how do I get to Lord British's castle? Well, I pulled this back up and let's see. If I'm down here, then I need to go north. and I need to keep going until I can find Lord British. That's how I found this map to be very useful, and you can blow that all the way up where you can see inside the individual buildings. So I found this to be very useful in playing my game. And so if you need that, let me know. Ultima 7 is considered to be one of the best games of all times. It's definitely considered the best game of the Ultima Games series, and it's one of the my favorite games that I've played in over 30 plus years of gaming. You've heard me talk about Richard Garriott. I had the pleasure of meeting Richard at an event, which I'll talk about in a future vlog, and what I learned is that he is one of the nicest people. He's down to earth, and he's a genius, and he doesn't come across that way when you meet him. He just seems like a regular, cool guy, and I was really honored to meet him. So thank you for taking a few minutes to watch my vlog on Ultima 7. If you have any interest in playing it, do let me know. I'll be happy to help you get started.